Then they brought me to a man who was just exiting from that very door, this portal door, very angrily, and I was surprised. That man was me. It felt like looking at a mirror, but this wasn't a mirror. He was standing there, looking at me. He had my face and my body, but he had anger, lots and lots of anger.
2nd of February 2025. This is my log for my recent out-of-body experiences and meditation practices. Like previous logs, I'll just read it out from my journal. It is much easier that way. So OBE 70 took place on 4th of January 2025. During the day, I repeated affirmations of getting out of my body and going to the higher astral plane. Nothing much of the exercise because I was on a vacation, and the experience is that I remember getting out of my body during the night, but I do not remember the whole experience. I probably got out and entered the click space and returned to sleep, or I did get out and away but do not remember anything. This could be because of the changing places during our vacation, and or that I was just tired of walking a lot while visiting different places and just I needed to sleep. OBE 71. This took place on 6th of January 2025. During the day, I repeated affirmations of getting out of my body and going to higher astral plane. Nothing much of the exercise because I was on vacation still. And the experience is that I felt the air pulsations, and when it was ready, I got out. The pull from my physical body was very strong. My upper half of the body was separated, but the lower half was still being pulled by my physical body. However, I did manage to get out. I realized that it was a dark space and was a different room than I was sleeping in. After probably a click, I appeared in a separate space where insects and snakes were chasing me. I used the telekinetic force to move them away from me. I saw that it was a daytime, and a strange thought came to me. I thought that my previous experiences had been in a night-like environment and this was in a day-like environment. But I have had both day and night-like experiences previously, so this does not make sense why I was thinking like that. Then I was seeing some of my relatives, including my uncle who had died, and we had some conversations which I do not remember. Then I said that I'd like to go to a higher astral plane, and I started to rise up. As I was rising, I saw the curvature of the planet, and as I kept on rising, I saw two layers of light. The lower was filled with daylight and upper with nightlight. So it was separated like that. And the general comments for this experience is that recent experiences have been mostly dark or faint. I think the ability to have clear experiences depend upon meditation. This was the thought before, but now I'm starting to think that this is true. So this is what I wrote. OBE 72. This took place on 9th of January 2025. And the exercise was that I did Focus 10 Advanced Extended, playing on the audio on my iPad, and played the OBE alarm on my iPhone. While doing the exercise, I repeated the affirmations, out of body now. Now I go to the higher astral plane, and gradually fell asleep. Around 10:20 to 10:30 or something like that, I had an OBE experience. First, I felt the tonal ear pulsation very faintly. I noticed my slowed breathing pattern. I also thought that if I focus too much on my breathing, I won't be able to get out. While trying to relax more, the connection established, and I got out. As I got out, I noticed that from being aware of the breathing, suddenly I did not need to breathe at all. This is another experience of noticing the breathing pattern during the OBE. Everything was dark. I approached the window, and it felt very real because I was also hearing my footsteps. I thought that this shouldn't be possible to hear footsteps, but also realized that this must be the proximity effect. Then I continued to the window, opened and jumped out. There, I felt nothingness. I remembered that I could use the tree branch to go up. As I raised my hands up, I found a single rope. I held it and pulled myself up and soon entered a click space. I found myself on the top of the tree after the click. There I thought that I should see something and looked around. A faint landscape started to appear, then another click followed. Then I found myself in a place where I was hovering or was able to fly around. I realized that I was being tested if I could help a person understand his past life or something similar. I flew around a building and entered inside. There I saw that everyone there went into an OB state or a super unconscious state to discover something, or super conscious state to discover something. I was helping them to go into the super unconscious state. There I saw that one of the three that were there was the first to do that, and his image was printed on a hologram-like structure where I could see his two faces. One before he was able to go to the super unconscious, and the other after he was able to do that. He was then helping others to achieve the same. I was helping them in the process, but I knew that I had myself not achieved this state. When I was able to help one of them to achieve this state, another click followed. Then I was standing on a rooftop with a little girl who had lost her parents or siblings or something like that. She wanted to go to her relatives. I told her that I could help her. Then I sat on the stairs and asked her to climb on my back. As she did, she climbed on my back. As she did that, I stood up to fly. At first, she felt heavy and I couldn't jump fly. After trying for a few times, I was able to hover with her on my back. From there, we traveled towards my left direction, about 120 degrees on the horizontal plane. While flying, I told her that she can also do the flights and it's very easy. And after flying, sometimes I felt some disturbances, but I don't remember well what it was. Then I knew that I had to fly towards the right side, about 60 degrees on the horizontal plane, towards the middle of some hills. As we were flying towards that direction, I entered yet another click. After that, I probably got back and stayed in the click space for some time. At some point, I got my awareness back as my OBE alarm voice said, "Be aware, this must be a dream." Then I was back. I tried to remain unmoving and remember everything, but could only get fragments of the experience. So I got up to record it on my phone. So the general comments for this, I wrote, "My recent experiences have been somewhat faint or dull. I'm starting to feel that meditation is very important for the clear experiences. One strange thing that happened is that after less than 4 hours of sleep period, the OBE alarm had finished playing. The original audio is about 7 hours and 30 minutes, but I had only slept for 4 hours maximum. I thought that I must have done something or scrolled the playhead to the end while picking my phone to record the experience, but I'm just guessing that because I don't know what happened. The alarm had ended, 7 hours and 30 minutes. OBE 73 took place on 11th January 2025. The exercise is that I decided to not do anything and just remain in the bed in Savasana position and meditate. I lay down in Savasana posture for about an hour listening to the Focus 10 audio on Expand app. As the audio ended, I felt a very soothing and peaceful state of mind. After that, I removed my earphones and lay on my left side, and after some time on my right side. And during this time, I kept on saying the affirmation on my mind, "Out of body now," and soon fell asleep. Then I had a dream in which I was showing my friend how to fly. I suddenly realized that if I can fly, I can get out of my body. Then I said it a few times, "Out of body now, out of body now." Then the dream broke and I rolled out of my body. First exit. First, I opened the window and jumped out. It was all dark and I couldn't see anything. I held the tree branch, but it was too sharp and spiky that it felt that it was hurting my hands. Still, I climbed to the top and still there was nothing, all black. Then I got pulled back to my body. Second exit, I rolled out of my body and opened the apartment door. I saw a dark blob right next to the door. I couldn't get out or do anything. The blob caught me and I surrendered. This blob entity did something to my body and I could feel it. It did not hurt at all. It was just like a feeling of something moving gently inside me. There was no fear on my part, and after a few seconds, I got back to my body. Third exit. I rolled out of my body and opened the door. This time the blob was not there. I got out and turned left to open the balcony door. I jumped out of the balcony fence and held the tree branch. Then while jumping, I said, "This time the branch should be soft." The branch became soft. Then I went up to the top of the tree and said, "Take me to the Astral Park." A click followed. I arrived at a place, nice looking park. There were small patches of green lawn and circular or spherical like small buildings, but there were nobody around. I mentally said thank you and started to move around. I thought that this has happened before in OBE 63, so there should be somebody around. But suddenly I got pulled back to my body. Fourth exit. I felt that I was not synced with my physical body, so I rolled out again. I got out of the window this time, held the tree branch, went to the top and said higher astral plane. A click followed. After that, I arrived at a place, a building with a long balcony or a hallway. At the end of the balcony, I saw a woman who was going a floor below. I sank on the floor and thought that I should be going up and not down. And there was a little fear in going down, but I thought I'd trust the process and went down anyways. There I saw that the woman was my grandmother, my father's stepmother. I went close to her and said, "Grandma, I want to meet my spirit guides. I want to go to higher astral plane. Can you help me, please?" She asked me to follow her inside her room, which looked like a worship space. And as I entered, I saw my reflection on a big mirror on the left side wall, and my reflection appeared blurry or wavy, something like that. Then I focused on my face for a moment and continued focusing on my grandma. I asked again if she can help me. She started to do some puja, a ritual. I saw a shamanic drum in the cupboard shelf. I wanted to play that drum and approached it, and at the same time my grandmother gave me a phone number. As I was just taking the drum and tried to listen to the number, I got back to my body. As I was back, it felt that if I moved, I would be fully synced with my physical body. So I remained unmoving, and a few moments later I felt that I could get out again. Fifth exit. I rolled out and I was already in a dark or nothingness space. There I dialed the number in a mental image of a phone and said, I just want to meet Janat, please. The connection was established and I heard a voice which sounded like that of my friend, Adesh. I told this voice that I want to meet Janat. Then there was a second voice which did not sound like a voice of Janat that I had heard before. With my thought, the voice started to tune itself and closely, sounding like Janat but not perfectly. While that was happening, I got a knowing that the type of voice does not matter because the tuning or the frequency of any voice can happen within the same space of communication. I told them that I want to go to higher self and that I want to learn and I want to help. They said that they are upgrading the body and there is something that they need to do. I said that is okay. Then they approached me and something started to roll inside from the bottom to top and every part of my interior body. I could feel it moving everywhere inside my body. Then they said that they need to do the fear test for me. I said that would be fine. Slowly, a certain vibration started to flow inside my body. I remained unmoving as they worked on me, and after a moment, the vibration was stopped. Then I returned back to my body. In this experience, there were both verbal and non-verbal communication with different types of entities. I couldn't see things in a clear visual aspect like my previous experiences, but the communication with Janat or similar entities have been in the dark space before and in this one as well. And the fear of this dark space has now completely gone, since now I know that even if I meet any entity, they do not mean any harm for me. Right now it's starting to snow, I guess, and it's pretty cold, so maybe I will change the location, but let's see. Let's move on with OBE 74. This took place on 11th of January 2025. I played 2 hours of focused in audio on the Expand app and the experience happened within these 2 hours. By the end of these 2 hours, I got back from the experience and the sleep data on my watch shows the REM sleep happened from 10:12 to 11:12. So the core experience must have happened during this time. During the period of listening to the Focus 10 on my earphones, I kept on changing my position from Savasana to laying on the left, then right, then again Savasana, and finally the experience happened in the position with my left hand above my head and my right hand below my waist above the knee. Then at some point, around 10, 12 or something, I heard a tonal air pulsation. It was very clear and I was very alert and awake and could possibly physically move if I wanted, but I did not move. I counted 4 pulsations, but this brought my consciousness more towards my physical body. So I stopped counting at all and started to think of some songs to keep my attention away from my physical body. After a few seconds, the connection was established. Then I tried to roll out, but I couldn't separate completely. I could only move a little part of my left hand and right leg. The rest felt glued to my physical body. I remained like that for a while, then thought of rising. I could feel rising up a little bit, but nothing much happened. Then I remained there, and soon a click followed. I found myself in a place where multiple songs were playing from everywhere. It was like the H-band noise space, but there was music. A cacophony of music masked with the pink noise of the F10 on the Expand app, and I thought this could be the result of thinking about the songs while tonal ear pulsations were happening. And in this place I was standing on a floor inside a building. I managed to get out of the building and I tried to move forward, but I couldn't move clearly. Instead, there was a fabric looking like waveforms or of different heights, almost like a 3D view of audio spectrogram. To move forward, I started to pull the fabric. It continued coming towards me, and at first it was easy to pull, but soon it started to become difficult to the point that I could feel my arms muscles hurting, like I was doing some sort of physical exercise, and my arms were getting pretty tired. But I did not give up and kept on pulling, and after some time it again became easy to pull this fabric. I couldn't see the end of where it was coming towards me, but soon I felt that I had pulled the whole fabric and a click followed. In a dark space, I heard voices saying strange things about this fabric. They said that this fabric, which has a name, which I don't remember, has been pulled 3 times until now and has been pulled to construct different things. This did not make sense to me. They said that this 3rd time is me pulling this. While they were saying all of this, the music and the pink noise was in the background still. Soon I got fully back to my body, and for a while I kept on thinking if I should remain calm and get out again, but soon I gave up and started to record the experience on my phone. General comments on this experience is that although the experience has been in a dark space recently, I feel that I'm learning at least some new things. It may feel like little for now, but like previous experiences, I'm sure that it will emerge as a part of bigger patterns. I'm really feeling cold at this moment, so probably I'll just do OBE 75 somewhere else.
It was way too cold in there. So back in the studio, and now the OBE 75. It took place on 13th of January 2025. I woke up at 6 with my alarm and decided to try and have an OBE. I lay down with two pillows, one above the other to raise the height of my head while sleeping. Then I repeated the affirmations: out of body now, I meet my guides now, and please take me to a spaceship. Well, that didn't happen, not yet, but anyways. I do not know whether to call this a full OBE, but it was a vivid experience. But since I did feel the rotation and rising up clearly, I am noting this as an OBE as well. So the experience is that in the dream I could fly, and I was doing so very calmly. After some flying, I had to sleep. Then I woke up and I wanted to have one more attempt to have an OBE. This was all in the dream space. Then I started to rise and found myself in my uncle's house in Kavre district in Nepal. The house in which I was in the physical reality is the house of my friend. I woke up and got out of this house. I saw some children playing outside. They did not see me. From there, I started to rise and float towards the east direction for some time. Then I returned from there and started going to the west direction towards Panoti. It's a small city area. After moving a little away, I met some people and started talking. I do not remember the conversation with them. Suddenly, a little girl say, "Hey, I can hear you." Then she asked, "Can you see us?" I said, "Of course I can see you." She then immediately called her friends and said, "Hey, look, he can see us." Some 5 children came closer and we started to talk a bit. Then I asked, "Would you like to go and take tour of a spaceship?" They said yes. We held hand and started to rise, but we couldn't go higher. So I told them that it's just like jump flying. And then we did do the jump flying and started to rise much higher than before. And as we were rising, I came back to the same room where I was sleeping inside my friend's house. Then there was a robot like entity that was scanning my body. I felt like it was an operation room and I did not want to be operated on. So I started to just move around. Then a strange thing happened. I started to rotate slowly, anti-clockwise, horizontally, and I could really feel this rotation. And after a few rotations, my alarm brought me back, fully back to my physical body. So it probably was an experience in the spaceship. I'm not so sure. And throughout the experience, I could feel the rotation and rising very clearly. I do feel that my friends or guides or higher selves are helping me, and from my part, I have felt that I need more meditation, more patience, and trust in the process. And from this point onward, I also started to write keywords. So for this one, I wrote difficult exit, rising, dream, conversion, children, conversation, robot, entity, body scan, operate, operation, so that it becomes easier for me to search for my experiences later on, because this journal document is getting bigger and bigger with each experience. So OBE 76, it took place on 22nd January 2025. The day before, I meditated in school about 35 minutes, and in the evening, I meditated the same duration where I tried to communicate with Janat. The meditation felt very calm, and after the meditation, I created the energy balloon around my body, then moved the energy inside and through my body, reaching every internal organs as much as I could. Then I fell asleep, repeating the affirmations: out of body now, now I meet my guides, and I experienced total love. During the night, I dreamed that I could fly, and at some point, I woke up briefly and remained in the hypnagogic or hypnopompic state at that point, in which I tried to reform the images of being able to fly, and a small area formed in the dream, and I was able to hover there, and there I said and repeated, out of body now, until the dream broke, and I found myself already in a separated state. Then I rolled out of my body and went close to the window. I noticed that the window's position had changed a little bit and it moved to the left side. I didn't think about it much and then just opened the window and jumped out, then held the tree branch. It felt spiky. I thought the spikiness was already gone, but it is still there, or was still there. Then I thought it has already changed before, so it shouldn't be spiky. Immediately it felt soft. Then I climbed for a bit and realized that I could go forever if I just kept on climbing. So I stopped at a point and said, I want to meet Janat now. And I waited. Somehow I knew that it works if I stay there, say my affirmation, and then wait. Then a sudden space around me started to form. I saw a large door of a castle like house, old door. Soon a man, a woman, and a dog came out of this door. I told him that I wanted to meet Zanat. The woman smiled and said, Hi, where's Zanat? It surprised me. I had an impression in my mind so far that Zanat is one entity, and we had a short conversation and they invited me to go inside, and the dog followed us as we entered. The interior was a large cave-like structure with specific areas for different things, almost looking like a small stall, each lit with warm focused lights. It also had internal pathways to different areas of this cave, I guess. As we arrived at the central area of this large interior space, this man and woman, they went somewhere, then the dog stayed with me. Zanat's voice then started to come from a mobile like device. I asked about different things and said that I wanted to learn how to heal and have more astral projections, and then I wanted to bring this knowledge back to the planet. Zanat said from this mobile like device that they are helping and working for this to happen. And this is what I could remember clearly from what Zanat said. We are working on our side, even if you do not feel or get some experiences immediately. You must have patience and keep on working on your side as you are doing. We have been helping you throughout your previous experiences and giving you messages. In your meditations, remain in the silence and keep observing behind the closed eyelids. You can also focus on the static like focal point that you see when you close your eyes. You can additionally work with your wife by bringing her in the hypnagogic state and have communication there. The more you do this, the more you will come into alignment with the frequencies on our side. So, about this closed eyes and static like focal point, is that whenever I close my eyes, there at the center of my vision field, wherever I move my eyes, this static point follows, and it started since the end of 2023 and beginning of 2024, and I believe this has something to do with meditation. Then Janat asked me to go to one of the stalls there in this cave interior. I went to the corner where he pointed, where I saw a middle-aged woman. She asked me to sit on the bench, and this place had a warm fire in front, and it looked like she was making some sort of drink. She poured the drink in two steel glasses and gave me one to drink. She drank from the other. This drink looked as clear as water, and as I drank it, I could feel the taste. It felt strange that I was able to taste in the non physical state. It tasted like fenugreek seed, and it was bitter with a very sweet aftertaste. I told her that this was strange for me, that it looked like water but tasted bitter and sweet, and more strange that I was able to taste. And this had never happened before. She said that this is a helpful drink and it is part of updating my system. She told me the benefit of drinking this drink, and we had some conversation which I don't remember anymore. I thanked her for meeting and giving me this drink, and after that, I got back to my body. Yes, and this dog followed me there as well, and it was sitting next to me and just listening to our conversation. This is one of those experiences where something strange and unforeseen experiences happen, and here it was drinking and feeling the taste. And keywords for this experience I wrote flying dream, spiky tree branch, Zanat, dog, drink, entrance door, cave. I should also write soft tree branch because it changed. What it felt was this whole place was Zanat. Not just one entity, but the entire cave was Zanat. Each entity I met was part of Zanat. Everything there seemed to be this intelligence forming this place to help me have this experience, if that makes sense. OBE 77 took place on 25th January 2025, and around 2 a.m. I went to bathroom, came back and slept on my right side. Then at some point I lay on my back with my arms on my chest, and there were two layers of pillows to raise my head a little bit. I have felt that it kind of helps to have the swaying motion. But anyways, I was in this comfortable position, and then I did this target technique from William Bullman. in which I was visualizing being in my home back in Nepal. Then I palpated objects in my room, walls, tables, chair, cloth hangers, my piano, etc. And then visualized gifting Palo Santo incense sticks to my neighbors. And after that, I visualized going to ashram in Bhaktapur and gifting Palo Santo to friends there. And then soon I fell asleep. Around 2:37, so this is maybe half an hour after I fell asleep, I found myself in a hypnagogic state, partially separated from my body. This time I did not hear any tonal air pulsations before reaching this state. I felt that I could move my non physical hands up down. First, I slowly moved my fingers. It was above my chest, and I was moving my fingers in the non physical hand. Then my whole hand was starting to move. Then I tried with my leg, and my leg was moving. So it was kind of swaying motion. Then I was sure that I could get out. So I rolled out of my body. Everything was dark. I opened the window and jumped out. I thought of holding the tree branch and climbing up, but I decided to just be there and say my affirmation. Then I said, I want to meet my guides. Nothing happened. Then I thought that I'm too close to my body. This thought brought me back to my body. Then I did the hand swaying motion again. It worked again. Then I said, rise up. I did not rise. So I rose myself up and I could feel this motion as I sat upright on my bed. The whole body was vibrating. It was a little clearer than before, the vision. Then I went to the window and jumped out, and outside I noticed trees and houses. They were almost in the same places as in the physical counterpart, but the architecture of the house was different, more rounded type. There were small patches of garden around the houses, and I started moving and observing the place, and I almost crashed in a building, but I stopped and thought that I don't want to end up in the darkness, which has happened before. Whenever I crash into some object, tree, building, anything, it just the whole experience goes into nothingness. There's just darkness everywhere. It's not fearful, but it's just nothingness. So I moved a few meters away from this building and saw a man with a dog. Again, a dog shows up in my experience. I greeted the man and asked if he can see me or hear me. He said that he could. And as we were talking, which I don't remember much what we were talking about, the dog came to me playfully and stood up with his forelimbs around my stomach, and I patted him. He went around and came back. After some conversation, I told the man that I had to leave. He called the dog towards him. Then I was back in my body. Third exit, I rolled out of my body and heard my friends talking inside the kitchen. So I opened the door instead of the window. There I saw a woman who I did not recognize. It felt like she recognized me because she started to talk with me and ask some questions. I do not remember the content of this conversation. So I followed her as she walked away from the kitchen. She entered a door, but I stood at the entrance and then I was back in my body. Fourth exit. I did the swaying motion with my hands and legs again for a few seconds and then rolled out of my body. And as I was out and approached the window, I said, I want to meet my guides, my loving guides. For a moment, I saw a very shiny, multicolored light appear in my room. Then it disappeared as soon as I noticed it, but I could see things more clearly than before. On the window pane, I saw a small radio like device playing a song, and this song was saying, We love you. It felt a little strange at first, and then I said, No, but I want to meet you guys, not like this on radio. The song did not stop. Then I asked a few questions, and the answer was coming in the same song. But I do not remember much of this conversation as well. Probably because my focus was to meet them, like in there, as meeting an entity or a friend, but instead it was from the radio. So my focus was completely not in listening to what was coming from radio, but just trying to be with them there. Then I closed my non physical eyes and everything was black, and I said, To the astral park, please. Then I opened my eyes and I was still there, so I just jumped out of the window. The place became different as I came down. There were a few people around, and I asked if they could hear me or see me. They said that they could see me. Then I asked if they could help me meet my guide, but they did not reply after that question. I was a little frustrated and wanted to just hit somebody there. I went down and held the heads of two men, and immediately I regretted and I thought I shouldn't be doing that. I let go of their head and asked for forgiveness and then left from there. Then I was back in my body again. Fifth exit. I remained on my bed even if I was already in a phased out state from my body. I could hear and feel my physical body breathing. I was in a full waking like awareness state, and I thought that if I moved, I could move my physical body. I was in that level of awareness. But soon I started to vibrate very softly, and I slipped down and out through my legs. I moved a little away from the bed and then rotated 180 degrees horizontally. I felt this rotation in relation to the walls of the room which I was physically in. So I was out, I was feeling that it felt a little strange because I was not doing that. This going out and rotating happened as if it was being controlled by my guides, because even if I was fully aware, I it was not me controlling that movement. And after the rotation I entered a click and then fully came back to my body. And for the general comments, I wrote, while I was already phased out and was requesting to help me get out and meet my guides, I had a little fear in me. I noticed it and thought that I shouldn't be afraid. Then the fear vanished. Each time I was back in my body, I thought if I should wake up and record the experience or try to go out again. I chose the latter because I thought that nothing interesting or significant had happened yet, and I do believe that my guides are trying all they can from their side, and I should do the same. Just for the additional information, that morning was when the seven planets came into a straight line. This recent planetary alignment was happening, and I don't know if it makes sense, but in my non physical state, I did slip out of my legs and rotated horizontally like 180 degrees. And I don't know if it can be called an alignment, but I'd like to think so. And the keywords I wrote for this experience are multiple exits, dog, swaying motion, colors, lights, rotations, sitting upright, fear, avoid crashing. Now the OB is 78. This took place on 31st January 2025. Before falling asleep, I lay down in Savasana posture and did a series of affirmations for my father, my mother, my wife, and few times to myself. Then I repeated the affirmations for outer body experience. Outer body now. I meet my guides now. Now I go to my higher self, and I fell asleep repeating these affirmations. The experience. There was a dream conversion. In the dream, I was able to hover, fly around, and it was a place that looked like Kathmandu Darbar Square, but more similar buildings everywhere, like pagoda style temple buildings. The buildings seemed damaged due to an earthquake and looked like the whole area was abandoned. And as I entered this place, I couldn't see anybody. I saw the idols of local gods, the statues of Shiva, Krishna, and other deities inside the pagoda style temple buildings. And at one point, I felt a subtle vibration of my non physical body. I felt that I could get out of my physical body at that point, and I forced myself out from the body and said, I want to get out of here. A click followed. I arrived at the same place that I was before in my dream. Now there were people around there, and the buildings seemed undamaged, as if there was no earthquake at all. I talked with some people and asked them if they can help me meet my higher self. They said that they couldn't. Then I moved around and saw a sage that had visited us in the ashram while I was living back in Nepal. There was another man with him. I asked both of them if they can see me. The sage could see me, but the other man said that he couldn't, but he could hear me. As I was talking with them, I felt the vibrations of the non physical body again. Then I asked the sage if he knew about my higher self or higher intelligence or the other side. He said that he didn't know. I asked how he was able to see and hear me then. Then he said that he doesn't know, but he trusts in the process of the universe. At this point, my body felt a little different, as if there was a shift in the vibration. I told them the vibrations of my body feels different now, but I'm still here, looking forward to connect with my higher self. The sage asked, where are you in your physical body? I replied that I was there at the moment, fully present, but my physical body was sleeping in Estonia, and I just got out to explore and learn. Suddenly, I noticed that the floor of these temples, where the statues and idols are kept, became vacant and filled with white light. It was as if the idols were taken out and the floor was painted all white. This white color or paint started to rise up, covering the whole first floor, or the floor in which the idols are usually kept. It felt really strange, and I started to look around and see other temples, and in each one of them, the floor was all white. Slowly, this white color started to expand and cover the upper floors of the temples. I turned around and saw that this was happening in every building and temples in that place. At a distance, I saw a big door just emerge and opened, and a group of people came towards us. This door felt more like a portal rather than a door to some building there. The other side of the door was white and not clearly visible from where I was. The group of people that came from this door portal felt negative in their energy. Some of them went and grabbed other people. Two of them came and grabbed me and told me that they were going to take me to the negative me. It didn't make sense, but I told them that I would gladly come with them because I want to know as well. Then they brought me to a man who was just exiting from that very door, this portal door, very angrily, and I was surprised. That man was me. It felt like looking at a mirror, but this wasn't a mirror. He was standing there, looking at me. He had my face and my body, but he had anger, lots and lots of anger. It felt like meeting the dark side version of me from another dimension or something. As we met, he held my hands and immediately his anger vanished. He said to the man next to him something like this: "You were right. I see that I can change. There is love. The other side of me is light." Then he had tears in his eyes, and I also had tears in my eyes as we hugged. And at this point, I felt a strong pull, and soon I was fully back and fully sync with my physical body. So, in the general comments, I think meeting myself is something like meeting the I there, as Robert Monroe mentioned, and gathering of all of these I there me beings. This makes me think that every time I saw and met somebody that felt like I know them, must have been myself in some other dimensions or sometime in different times in the past or other timelines. This feeling has become more and more strong with each time that I meet someone and he or she or it feels very familiar, like I have known them before, or each time I meet an entity or a being looking exactly like me, the feeling is that they are me, the I there me. Anyways, the keywords for this experience I wrote multiple exits, click, flight, flying dream. Nevertheless, I try to find some time to meditate, and even 15 minutes or 20 minutes during the day just calms down the surge of lot of activities and lot of things to decide and prepare. It just helps. Anyways, see you after the next experience.